My name is Billy Kang. I'm an auditor and accountant. I am partner in the firm of Billy Kang & Co. And I have been in this profession for the last 30, 40 years. The reason that I choose to enroll myself in DBA with UMK is because, number one, it is near the place of my work and my house. And also the emphasis by UMK that it is an entrepreneurial centered university. Because in my line of work, I meet a lot of entrepreneur and businessmen. That is why I chose UMK. And I think that with the exposure of further in-depth knowledge of entrepreneurship, I should be able to enhance my businesses and also my interaction with my clients. Now, having graduated from UMK, the knowledge that I acquire on entrepreneurship and on women entrepreneur and in Kelantan context, it enhanced my interaction with my clients. And now that I know the reason why women excel in businesses in Kelantan, that put me in a very good position to discuss their business issue. The DBA course offered by UMK is actually very interesting because the course content and the lecturers who deliver those courses are experienced and which is very practical in the business world. Now, with that advanced age, many people would have enjoyed their life with the family and the grandchildren. But I thought I better spend my time more valuable in the pursuit of seeking knowledge. So I don't think anyone should retire from learning and expanding the knowledge. I think knowledge is where we learn until we die. Being a person who likes to read and who likes to seek knowledge, I think DBA or UMK given me the chance to pursue my personal, I would call it hobby. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening. Welcome to the second episode of our podcast, Voices of Mgseb, the platform where we explore ideas, insights, and innovation at the intersection of business, leadership, and education. So I'm Prof. Azizi, your host, and it's truly an honor to welcome our special guest today, Tan Sri Muhammad Ibrahim, former governor of Bank Negara, Malaysia. So welcome to UMK, Tan Sri.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down all the way from KL to join us tonight. And I'm sure everyone knows Tan Sri, the big boss at Bank Negara, Malaysia, with I would say, style white hair, the trademark. Tan Sri's leadership in navigating Malaysia's financial and economic landscape, his steadfast integrity in public service, and his foresight in shaping policy have made him a respected figure both locally and globally. So today we will explore the theme leadership in uncertain times, integrity, innovation, and impact. So Bismillah, ala barakatillah, Tan Sri. I have a long list of questions to ask you tonight.
Yes.
But before we jump into the big topics, let's warm up a little bit with quick, lighter questions just to get to know you better as a person. So the first one, when you are not busy, what's your favorite way to unwind?
Oh, I like to read books. I have not as much as University of Kelantan collection, but I have around 4,000 books,
Wow.
and I have a small collection of arts. And the thing that I do a lot of my thinking by walking.
Wow.
When I walk, I start thinking about some of the things that I need to do.
So you
And
walk every day,
I walk every day, at least 8,000 steps per day.
8,000 steps. Wow. So I need to step up a little bit. Mine is only around 3,000. Okay. Tasri, do you prefer the city bus or the calm of the countryside?
Oh, that is quite an easy question. It's always the countryside that give you a lot of time for contemplation, reflection. It's, the city life is the buzz of the economy,
Yep.
but the countryside give you a bit of time and space for you to rewind.
Then I would suggest you to stop over on your way back to KL at our Jili campus. Very beautiful
Yes.
campus. And we also have Tropical Rainforest Research Center in Belum.
Yeah.
And if you could have a dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
This is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at the current global landscape,
Yep.
China is already by far the biggest economy in the world by measurement of PPP. I would really like to meet some of the people that's responsible for China's development over the last few years. It's just simply amazing. I've been dealing with them since the 80s, and we can see the change in the way they look at things. Now they look at things from a global angle. And one thing about the Chinese is that they always look at things from a bigger perspective and long-term in nature.
Yeah.
Amazing transformation for a country that is much poorer than us in the 60s.
Yep. Yep. Because the development is kind of like mind-blowing.
Yes.
Very rapid. Okay, the last one, the easy question is that what's one thing people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh, I like I said, I collect a bit of art.
Wow.
In fact, my first artwork, when I was a junior staff, I had to borrow from the bank to pay for it. And I paid the bank 5 years just to get that particular painting.
Wow.
So I have about 30, 40 collection now. So I'm quite proud of my collection.
Yeah, it's happy that we have that one small painting next to you. Okay, Tan Sri, let's get a bit more serious now. You led Bank Negara during a period of economic and political turbulence, 2016 to 2018. I was at Mohi then,
Ah.
where we had a change of government in 2018. And how did you navigate decisions when the pressure come from all sides?
Actually, from Negara is quite simple because Negara is basically dictated by the banking act, the central banking act. Very clear of what the central bank need to do. Two things. One is to maintain monetary stability, and second, financial stability. So if you really look at some of the noises that were made during that time, and if you focus on your core mandate, it's quite easy to navigate all the noises. It's very important that you focus on data.
Yeah.
Collection of data is extremely important because the central bank always formulate their policy based on data analysis. And the key is that it's always the long-term interest of the nation must be uppermost in any central bank. At the central bank, we are very fortunate. We have very good people over there, highly qualified, very experienced, and the cohesive team that the central bank has basically enable it to navigate any crisis at any moment of time.
So the pressure is always there.
Oh,
But
of course,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
Economy. Everybody is an expert on economy,
yeah.
and everybody have their own views on how the economy should be run. But the good thing about central bank is that they look at the interest of the nation first, and they look at long-term stability. The central bank doesn't look at short-term political expediency. So because of that, the central bank are able to take difficult decision. And this decision, normally, if you look at some of the decision made by the central bank, is very transparent. It's transparent in the sense that for every meeting, for example, after monetary stability or the monetary policy committee meeting, there's always a statement being given within 3 hours after the completion of the meeting, bar none. Never the central bank have failed in putting up communication after the monetary policy committee meetings.
Tan Sri, I first met you in 2020. Um, you know, after your term with the Bank Negara, and at that time I found that you are a very humble, person. So what personal values or guiding principles help you to stay grounded as a leader?
I think this sense of integrity, long actually instilled by my father. You must have a very strong sense of public duty. And while humility is very essential, I think it's out of interest that when you're looking at very difficult issues, you must get everybody's views, because I believe very strongly that no single individual have the monopoly to the right answers. You have to work as a team. So expert at the central bank, we have a lot of expert, and this expert council must be obtained to look at what are the options available to the central bank, and if you do this, most likely than not, the decision that you take will be very firm and very concrete.
Yeah. Okay, looking back, Tan Sri, are there moments where you feel your leadership make the most impact, or where you wish you could have done more?
Ah, that is a very interesting question, because at the central bank, one of the things that we are very fortunate is the foundation laid by our previous leader, from Tony Ismail Ali until, in my case, until Tan Sri Zeti. And one thing about these leaders before me, and I included, is that we are able to maintain the credibility and the independence of the central bank. This is something that I think the country is fortunate, because the central bank is independent and very objective in its views. Because if the central bank is independent and able to take difficult decision in whatever situation the country is, that is very fortunate for the country, because there are somebody that look up after the people to make sure that the decision made for the country are anchored on stability of the economy.
Okay, Tan Sri, on decision making, we know that central bankers often have to make tough and sometimes unpopular decisions. Could you share one example of a particular decision, difficult one, that you made, and how you arrived at that decision?
You see, one of the key responsibility of the central bank is determining at what level the interest rate should be. So you have three options when the governor chair the monetary policy committee meeting. One is either you cut the interest rate, which is very popular with anybody.
Yeah.
Cutting interest rate is the easy part, or you remain neutral. That means you don't cut, you don't raise interest rate, and then you let the economy grow based on the interest rate that you think is appropriate for the situation. The last one is very unpopular, which is to increase interest rate. Nobody likes to increase interest rate. But believe me, sometimes you need to. And the reason why you need to make this difficult decision is that if the economy has seen inflationary pressure, you must increase the interest rate. If you don't increase the interest rate, your purchasing power will go down because inflation, as you know, is a tax on the economy.
Yeah.
So inflation can actually wreak havoc on your purchasing power ability. So I remember at one time I raised overnight policy rate, and a lot of people actually call in from, especially the political masters.
Yeah.
But you need to explain that you make the decision based on a very clear data, that you look at the inflationary pressure, you look at the possibility that if you don't do it, it will be hardship down the line, and then it might even undermine investment activity.
Yeah.
So the central bank always look at long-term uh, advantage to the economy, and the central bank doesn't take raising or cutting interest rate very lightly. We do all sort of economic model. We basically consult various stakeholders just to understand their perspective. We look at the banking sector. We look at the capital flow. We look at what will be the impact on the lower income group.
Yeah.
All those are some of the things that we look at. Then the difficult part is that after you get about 70% of the data, the 30% will come in. That is the subjective element.
Yeah.
And you have to decide then whether you should increase, you should remain neutral, or you should cut interest rate. But in whatever decision that we made, one key issue is that you must communicate decision. You must explain why the decision was made in a most transparent manner possible.
I have relating to that. I'm one of the happy persons after the recent decision by Negara
To cut interest
reduce
rate.
the OPR because we pay less
Yes.
monthly, you know. But then, how do you strike the balance between long-term policy goals and short-term political or social pressures? I'm sure that you've gone through this.
It's very delicate actually to decide. Basically, after you look at the data, the scientific part of it, the data, Bangor have huge amount of data that we can look at, analyze, and basically looking what are the trend, what the possibility of long-term implication. But at the end of the day, you must have a few things that you put as a priority. One is price stability. Second is the financial stability. And third, how the interaction between these two will promote sustainable economic growth for the country. So most likely than not, when the central bank cut interest rate, basically the risk of economic growth is higher than the risk on inflation going up. So that's why the central bank normally cut interest rate. But cutting interest rate is not being taken very lightly.
Yeah.
It's a very key economic tool that Malaysia, as an open economy, very much rely on the level of interest rate within the market. And one thing that I can assure you, cutting interest rate, easy part. Being neutral, not so bad. But increasing interest rate takes a lot of courage. And courage is something that extremely important character that a central bank has. And if you cut interest rate, you are alone. Everybody will come to you, quick to tell you, why you increase interest rate? It's a very lonely life as a certain banker when you increase interest rate.
I have one additional question here. Last night during dinner, you mentioned about the Mr. No. You know, I want to highlight. There's one quote that people said, "Work is easy, but people are not," and in certain cases whereby the politicians are not easy as well. Because there's always hand of God. Somehow, I would say hands of God. So how do you maneuver that?
I think the belief in doing the right things is very important. And I always tell my colleague that
Yeah.
If you cannot stand the heat, don't play the game. And it's very important that you have a strong backbone. My boss used to say, every central bank must have the nerve of steel. Only then you can be a very good central bank. The thing about central bank is that there are instances where you have to say no.
Yeah.
People might not be agreeable to it. They might not like you, but over the long run, when they see that your decision makes sense, they will basically accept it. They might not like you, but they will accept
Just
it.
stick to it.
Yes, just
And
stick
must
to
be
it.
strongly supported by data, I believe.
You must be very very clear of your mandate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any doubt about what a central bank should do. Then that requires experience is one thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed that if you have experience and if you are exposed to many circumstances when it comes to economic development, it's easier to make a decision, even though it might be unpopular at times.
Yeah. Thank you, Tan Sri. Uh, let's move to the third segment. So a very important topic on this global trade and Malaysia's positioning. Um, Malaysia recently engaged in complex trade negotiation with the US. While we managed to reduce the tariff from 25 to 19, but I see it came at a steep price. We kind of like forced to buy 30 Boeings, zero tariff or tax on 11,000 products. And another one is the REE, where we are kind of like forced to export the raw part of the REE. So the Trump guy is kind of a bully guy, I would say. So we are negotiating from a very, weak position. So what's your view on this? The trade between, the trying to penetrate the export markets and taking care of our local economy.
Actually, the Trump tariff, the globe is facing is something new. It's not only for Malaysia. Actually, every other countries around the globe is facing the wrath of Donald Trump. But if you are united and if we are strong enough economically, there's a lot of things we can do. For instance, Canada have responded in a very brave way.
Yeah.
China have responded in a way that basically advantage their position from, in fact, some of the export market that they lost from exporting to US, they actually export to other new markets like Latin America. In fact, if you look at the numbers, if I can recall correctly, the Q1 numbers, actually the export of the Chinese have increased.
Yeah.
So it's a manner of how you need to engage the US. And Malaysia being a developing country need to be extremely careful, especially in some of the policies that we need to keep, because we are still developing, we are still restructuring the economy, we are still looking at the uneven income distribution within the country. So some of those domestic policy cannot be given away just because we need higher tariff. There are other things that we can do. We look at non-traditional market. We strengthen ourselves so that the impact on tariff would not be as hard as initially thought. But a strong country with all the economic numbers in place would be able to face the Trump tariff in a big way. But there's no doubt about it that Malaysia will be impacted. But maybe it will be impacted for the next 3.5 years. Maybe after 3.5 years, the tariff is not there anymore. Because if we look at history, a tariff never actually benefit anybody. In the 1930, I think if I recall, in 1932, the US imposed tariff on many countries. That was the precursor to the Great Depression in 1939. In fact, all the numbers that we look during that time basically showed that if you impose tariff for too long, it will have impact on trade, and it will have impact on the globe as well. In fact, rising from the 1932 tariff imposed by the US, global trade actually reduced.
Yeah. And relating to that, you know, how should Malaysia navigate the tensions between the US and China while protecting our own interests? There's a push from the US on it, and also talking about tariff as well. While that tariff has been reduced to 19%, 2 days ago, Trump announced that all those semiconductor will be imposed 100%. And we are one of the main players. I think we control about 13% of the semiconductors. So it's quite unpredictable. So what's your take on it?
The tariff policy actually is quite unpredictable. Sometimes I wonder whether the tariff rates are being determined every day, depending on which side of the bed that Trump actually woke up. So he will decide on which trade.
Yeah.
But Malaysia, we need to be very pragmatic about it. I mean, the competition between China and the US is becoming stronger as time goes by. But you must remember, China is not the China that I know in 1980s.
Yeah.
China is now a big, modern and technologically advanced economy. It can beat the West in certain aspect of the technological and communication technologies. So they are very good. It's not like before where one country holds sway over how global economy works. But Malaysia can be caught with this struggle between the two for dominance. Sometimes when you look at it, after the Second World War, when US was the undisputed, not disputed anymore, that they were the superpower, the only superpower at one time. It's no more. I think China has, by all means, is a superpower in economic sense, even militarily. I think they are also very strong. So we cannot be caught as a small country. We cannot be caught. Yeah. So we need to be active in our role in trying to be neutral, and we must use all sort of forum like ASEAN. We need to use multilateralism as a means to navigate the rivalry between these two. But the thing for Malaysia is that both countries are very important to us. China being the biggest trade partner, US become the second biggest trade partner and traditional one at that. So we need to navigate carefully. And if we work ourselves with our ASEAN partners, I think most likely than not, the outcome will be better than not cooperating as a bloc.
One is China, another one is BRIC. Because there's been a talk of Malaysia becoming a full member of BRICS, which now we are a country partner since January this year. So what's your thought on whether we should join BRICS or hold on a little bit until the tension come down, which we don't know when it's going to happen? And what would be the risk and benefit of aligning closer with the BRICS bloc, including China in there, Brazil and other countries?
I think becoming a member of BRICS, as far as I'm concerned, is a no-brainer. We need to be a member of BRICS, simply because the world is no more. It's a multi-polarity world now. It's no more single economic bloc that control the world. And I think we need to be a part of BRICS simply because if you look at the total GDP of BRICS countries, it's more than 40%.
Yep.
And the total population of BRICS is about 3.3 billion. Just imagine, by being a member, you have a population of 3.3 billion people to sell your product and services. It's enormous. And we have been trading with the West for so long. I think it's good that we basically diversify our market from these traditional sources of our trade growth. And very important that BRICS bring in institution that almost parallel, if not, I think they are still developing, to the Bretton Woods institution. You know, the institution like IMF, World Bank, the IFC are all creatures post World War II.
Yeah.
Is a way of the West maintaining control over the global economy. But BRICS, being big themselves, they already have their equivalent of World Bank, which is called the New Development Bank. So countries now don't have to go to World Bank or the IMF for financing. They have an alternative way. They can go to Shanghai and borrow from the New Development Bank. And BRICS being a very big coalition of big economies, the technology is amazing. It's something that we can learn. And we have a lot to learn from the Chinese, for instance. Of course, there are risks. I mean, the West will, of course, erect their defenses to make sure that their interests always remain paramount. But the world has changed. And if people don't change with it, you'll be lost in the game for you to be competitive and to make your country more wealthy.
You say it's a goal for BRICS, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a no-brainer. You have to be a member. Yes.
Another one, Tansri, that I read a few days ago that I think 3 of the fastest growing economies coming from Africa. There's a huge market there that Malaysia is one country could explore.
Africa is one region where the performance has been underappreciated and they have not grown to their potential. But still, I think over the last few years, actually 60% of growth comes from Southeast Asia and Asia. Global growth originate from us. Asia, and especially in Southeast Asia, is a very dynamic region. So Africa, if they become as progressive as Southeast Asia or Asia, I think that will create a new source of growth. And I think it's good for the globe as well, because there's a new sources of growth, new demand for goods and services. I think it will create a better world, a more even world,
And
I think.
I also see that the sentiment of some African countries towards the West is, lesser now. I think with the few brave leaders that they have, they would and reduce the corruption and things that's become one of the thing in the African region. Then they would,
Africa, compared to countries in South Asia, I mean, countries in South Asia was also former colony of the British. And Africa actually a colony of many Western powers. Somehow, Southeast Asia have been, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, have actually get out of the colonial powers and have done well for themselves. Unlike the African who have not been able to get out of their dependency on colonial powers. That is something that we look forward to, and some of the changes that I've seen in Africa might point to a better future for Africa himself. But I wish that Africa will grow, because that will make the world more stable, because there will be new sources of growth. There will be new market where we can sell our goods and services. People will become prosperous, and when people become prosperous, they tend to spend.
Actually, before we take a quick break after this, one last question from me. How do you see the opportunity for Malaysia to play a more strategic role in ASEAN as a bridge between East and the West?
Actually, if you look back in the 70s when Tun Razak was the Prime Minister, he's the first that actually went to Beijing, and actually strike up a diplomatic relation between Malaysia and China. That is quite fundamental, because no countries in Asia actually willing to do that. That just show the leadership that Malaysia can play.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Malaysia as the chairman of ASEAN, we are able to, at least for now, try to get the Cambodian and the Thai
Yeah.
to come together so that they come to an agreement of what to do. Basically, war is very stupid. I don't think there's any war that is not stupid.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
you have to start talking, because once you start to talk, then a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of uh, suspicion can be reduced. So you need to talk. And Malaysia can play this role because somehow Malaysia, basically, I don't think Malaysia have enemies, but it's almost like the Swiss used to be very neutral until they joined the EU. I think Malaysia basically is quite neutral in many things, and it can play a role in that aspect.
I read in the newspaper today that Trump will be coming, Xi Jinping will come, and also the president of Brazil also. So I think that's a good job done by the government to bring those the leaders of this big power to come to ASEAN for the summit.
I think that's good because when people congregate,
Yeah.
they start talking. They understand better the position of the various countries. Actually, at the end of the day, there will be empathy, there will be better understanding. And I very much like Trump to come to Kuala Lumpur. At least he wouldn't think that Kuala Lumpur is a backwater city.
So let's take a quick break.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Saya Dr. Syahirul Zakwan bin Muhammad Syahudin bersama dengan isteri saya,
Dr. Hassan Nadia binti Hassan Tozali.
Kami daripada alumni Universiti Malaysia Kelantan Perubatan Veterina pada tahun 2016. So kami mempunyai syarikat sendiri iaitu Shanas Legasi Sdn Bhd, yang mana kami mempunyai dua bisnes utama iaitu Shanas Veterinary Clinic dan juga ladang ternakan kambing tenusu di bawah Shanas Farmville di Kuala Kangsar. Berkenaan dengan pengalaman kami dalam bidang perubatan veterina ni selama 8 tahun. So selepas bergraduat, kami bekerja selama 1 tahun di syarikat klinik haiwan untuk mencari pengalaman dan juga bagaimana menguruskan sebuah perniagaan klinik haiwan. So selepas 1 tahun, maka bermulalah perniagaan pertama kami iaitu Shanas Veterinary Clinic. So berkonsepkan ilmu perubatan veterina dan juga ilmu keusahawanan yang diterapkan di Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. Kami menggunakan ilmu perubatan dan juga ilmu keusahawanan tersebut untuk menjalankan perniagaan yang kami ada sekarang ni. Kita nak mengembangkan klinik yang sedia ada dengan peralatan yang lebih lengkap, dan juga kita nak menambahkan cawangan sekiranya ada peluang pada masa akan datang, dan juga kita nak beri servis yang lebih baik daripada yang sedia ada untuk pada masa hadapan, supaya pemilik haiwan ini dapat juga memberi penjagaan yang terbaik kepada haiwan-haiwan yang dimiliki oleh pemilik-pemilik haiwan tersebut. Kami ada satu visi yang besar yang kami usaha untuk laksanakan visi tersebut, iaitu dalam keadaan ekonomi yang agak struggle pada orang ramai, kita cuba memberikan perkhidmatan yang terbaik pada harga yang lebih murah, supaya pelanggan-pelanggan di klinik haiwan Shanas tidak rasa terlalu terbeban dengan kos rawatan yang tinggi pada masa sekarang. Dan jadi harapan kami pada masa hadapan adalah sentiasa memberikan komitmen dan juga sokongan dan juga perkhidmatan yang terbaik selama mana yang kami mampu beri. Di kesempatan ini saya sebagai alumni bersama dengan isteri saya berbesar hati mengucapkan terima kasih kepada pihak Universiti Malaysia Kelantan yang memberi peluang kepada kami untuk belajar di universiti tersebut dan juga memberi peluang kepada kami untuk menjadi seorang insan dan juga masyarakat yang dapat memberi sumbangan kepada agama, bangsa dan juga negara.
Okey, saya nak ucapkan terima kasih dekat UMK sebab bagi peluang saya untuk belajar di UMK dan dalam pada masa yang sama bagi saya belajar dalam bidang bisnes sebab saya tak pernah terfikir untuk involve dalam bidang bisnes sebab keluarga saya bukan orang bisnes. Jadi dengan ilmu yang saya dapat tu, so saya dapat merealisasikanlah apa yang saya belajar tu dan impian saya dengan apa yang ada sekarang lah.
Tidak saya lupakan juga kepada pensyarah-pensyarah kami, rakan-rakan yang seangkatan dengan kami yang sentiasa memberi sokongan dan juga memberi nasihat dan juga galakan sepanjang kami belajar di universiti sehinggalah kami bekerja dan juga memiliki perniagaan sendiri.
Let's continue with segment 4 on financial innovation and national resilience. Tan Sri, how do you see fintech, digital currencies and new financial technologies reshaping the Malaysian financial landscape? What's the impact and are we ready for that?
Actually, there's no choice for economy. They must be ready or they'll be left behind. Technological and communication advancement will accelerate as we move forward. And if we know how to use it, actually we can benefit the economy. Because by using technology, for example, in the banking system, we can make the banking system even more competitive. The banking system, if it's competitive, then they can price their product services lower, and that will benefit the public at large. And there are many other areas that technology can enter. For example, financial inclusion is one particular aspect where technology can make big difference, because we have about a few million, about 10-20 million of unbanked population, and if we can reach these people, it can actually improve their financial well-being by allowing them to have access to the financial system. I think the unbanked is about 10% of the people in Malaysia, and most of them reside in rural areas. And if we can reach them via technology, it can actually do wonders. It will come. Technology will disturb the way we do business. It will create new business model. It will wreak havoc on existing incumbent. So the existing incumbent have to work very hard because there will be new startup that will use technology to challenge the incumbent in banking and business. And I think we are actually on the way where the traditional role of banking institution as an intermediary will become less and less as the new technological advancement come in. New fintech company come in with a new business model. They might even beat the banks at their own game. And this is something that we should look forward to, because the bank is making a lot of money. I think it's about time that there will be a bit more competition.
Yeah, it is not an option anymore. When I read discussions on LinkedIn, that one of the critics is that we are too concerned with the regulation, not on the innovation part of it. So how should regulators adapt to support innovation without compromising stability?
Malaysia have the one of the strongest banking system in the world, I think, because our banking system is highly capitalized, innovative, and continuously become competitive.
Yep.
I think so far the regulatory framework during the early days is quite stringent, especially when Malaysian banking institution was not ready to compete against foreign banking entities. So we protected them. But that time was limited. In the 1990s and early 2000s, we start opening up the banking system to more competition. And this has resulted in a few things. One is that our banking system have been very competitive and they can compete against other banks. If you go to Cambodia, the biggest banks are the Malaysian.
Yep.
And in Indonesia, a lot of our domestic banks become a significant player in those markets. It just shows that regulatory framework, if you do it and design it well, it can create a lot of positive in it. But having said that, it's an art actually for the central bank to see when they can actually let go the regulatory requirement and let competition and let startup work. And during my time, what I did was that I make sure that when it comes to technology, we should never be scared to experiment. And in the decision that we have made to allow fintech is we have used a phased approach to see how far they can actually develop. I think the announcement a few years ago that Malaysia issued, if I can recall, 5 digital banking license. That is a good experiment the central bank have embarked on. So central bank should not be worried about making changes and making new things, even though it has not been done before. I mean, the digital bank experiment might work, it might not work, but we must try, make sure where it can lead to.
I see. In terms of this, what structural weaknesses in Malaysia's economy still worry you based on your experience at BNM, and what bold step would you recommend to improve resilience?
Our podcast will be half an hour, right? I think I will talk about that until 12 midnight.
Okay, good.
So I have a long list of things that I think we should look at. Let me give you some of the elements that we need to do. One is that we need to change our education system. Our education system is very much centralized. And if you look at China and Singapore, the central authority is very strong, very open, very competitive, very innovative. So the whole system becomes strong. But if the central is weak and not sure of what they want to do and reluctant to make changes and scared to make changes because of so many things, then the whole system becomes weak, become mediocre. And then another area that I think Malaysians have not looked at it in great detail is our dependence on foreign labor. Dependence on foreign labor is very damaging to the economy.
True.
First, foreign labor that we attract are not high-end, it's low-end. Those without skills and without knowledge. Most of them are just finished school. You know what happened to the Malaysian economy? This is where the real cost is. First, it dampened the B40 wages. In fact, the B40 wages, if you look over the last few years, actually have declined. In real terms, it has not increased, but our cost of living have galloped. My children cannot afford to buy a car, to buy a house, unless parents help them. But another area where Malaysia has been left behind by countries such as South Korea, Japan, and Singapore is that because our businesses depend on low-cost labor, they rely on low-cost model, and they refuse to change. And because of that, our businesses are basically languishing at the lower end of the value chain. We don't produce things that the world wants. And because of that, you cannot create jobs, new jobs. I mean, I think the number of graduates per year in Malaysia is about 300,000.
Yeah.
I think good paying jobs, maybe one third.
Yeah.
So what does the 200,000 do every year? There will be 200,000 graduates that will be struggling to find a good
I
paying
agree
job.
with you, Tan Sri. If you look into the detail of graduate employability, then we'll know. Don't just look at the number given, but if you really look at those where they work and how much they get paid, then we can understand what you mentioned.
I think a large majority of our graduates languish in low-paying jobs and grossly underemployed. And it doesn't actually commensurate with the time they spend in school, with the learning that they have done. It's just not commensurate.
What's stopping us, from that? You need probably a strong political will to reform the education and the labor market.
We need
kind of-
transformation,
Yeah.
deep transformation, difficult adjustment, very painful changes, and very difficult. Unless we do that, we cannot improve the lot of our people.
But it's not
In
going
fact-
to be a popular decision.
It will be extremely unpopular, but it need to be done.
Something-
Good things comes in very unpopular packages. It doesn't come in popular packages.
That's going to be something that politicians would avoid in
But
doing
if
it.
you have a very strong sense of
Yeah.
nationalistic tendency, and then you want your people to be wealthy, then you have to make those changes. For example, we need to find new sources of growth to create jobs. For example, Malaysia is a very open economy. 140% of our GDP actually comprised of import and export. So we are a very large economy that rely on external trade. And many countries that have large economy and open to world trade, they have very strong supply chain companies like DHL, FedEx, very strong. But we don't. Even though we are a big country, we don't have very strong supply chain companies. But right, we should. And the reason is that nobody actually championed this industry. If you have a champion for the industry and then say that you are accountable to develop 2 or 3 companies from this particular industry to be world beaters, then maybe we can create new wealth, we can create new sources of employment, maybe we can create good paying jobs, but we don't. We have excessive borrowing, our fiscal deficit is chronic, and then our productivity have declined over the years, and we have been trapped in the middle income for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll talk until 12 and the podcast won't end.
Okay, Tan Sri, based on, I know that you have so many things to say, but what advice would you give to the policymakers?
I think they need to start listening to the technocrats, listen to the central bank. The experience that I got over the last few years, I think the central bank and the technocrats actually have a set of economic policy prescription that can be implemented. But like I said, it's difficult, it's painful, it's unpopular. But if we take them, I think we will position Malaysia as a very strong economy. Be mindful that in 1960s, the Chinese, the South Korean, the Japanese, the Singaporean, they are poorer than us.
Yeah.
Their per capita income is about $200. Our per capita income in the 1960s was about $450. We are way above those countries. Now, we are languishing right at the middle, and countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Singapore have become very rich. But why we don't become very rich? I think those countries take difficult economic policy prescription.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut to being wealthy. You need to work hard. You need to make all the difficult choices.
I think if you look at the investment that's coming into Malaysia, like data center, it's not really creating jobs. Not that we need to get one that really can uplift our labor skills, knowledge.
Actually, you can look at the establishment of data center from many angles, right? One is that data center is basically inventory of data. So they build large plant to put all the data there. They consume huge amount of electricity and utilities, water, for example. But the point that we need to look at is that do they create good paying jobs? When we look at the total expenditure that we spend on data center and against the benefit that we get for it, is Malaysia basically net earning any benefit out of it? This is a very hard and difficult question that we need to answer.
Okay, Tan Sri, okay, 9:50. Anyway, we
Let's
go
say
to,
I can
yeah.
speak until 12.
Let's go to the fifth segment on universities, higher education or education and talent development. From your experience, what skills and traits should the next generation of leaders develop to thrive into this uncertain, or we say it as VUCA world?
I call some of the skills that we need 21st century skills. One is that a lot of our work and job and function will be taken up by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And later, when artificial general intelligence become the norm, I think it will create a lot of issues. But there are a few things that a human can always do that machine cannot. One is critical thinking. Second is the ability to solve unprecedented problems.
Yep.
And then the ability to look at issues from social and political perspective. I think machine cannot do that, but human can. So some of the things that our young people need to do is to learn some of these skills, including digital literacy. Digital literacy is no more an option. Everybody have to be digitally literate, or you'll be lost, or you'll be short of tools to actually perform your duty and your function. And critical thinking, strategic thinking is one of those things that will be perennially demanded by employers. So students have to prepare themselves for this. And the challenges that they face will be unprecedented. I'm a product of 1980s. There was no internet. There was no mobile phone. There was no PC. But we survived and we adapt and we adopt. So students of future need to adapt and adopt as we had done over the last 30, 40 years.
We Mgseb is a business school. So what role should business school play in nurturing this? I would emphasize on the ethical, impact-driven leadership, which I believe that somehow are a bit lacking now.
I think businessmen must look beyond profit, because if they look at societal well-being over the long run, actually they benefit, because a rich society will become very good consumers. That's why I think increasingly business school especially need to inculcate the value of ethics in their teaching. In all subjects, they must include the value of ethics. That means your responsibility to your stakeholders, to society, to your family, to your surrounding, to the environment. So these are the things that must be taught, because this country developed because of businessmen. Our private sector in Malaysia is very strong. And if you look around, a lot of the things that develop the economy is actually done by the private sector. Now, if the private sector doesn't have strong values, societal values, I think we'll be in trouble.
Tan Sri, you mentioned, in segment 4, the first one that you mentioned is about the education reform. Let's touch a little bit on the recent reform, the said reform of education in RMK 13. So what's your take on it? What's your hope when you read that?
My impression, and this could be very personal, is that when you say transformation, you should turn it upside down. In business, if your product and services doesn't get consumer preferences, then you know what you do? You change the structure, right? I mean, we have done. I mean, you cannot beat Malaysia. Malaysia have done quite well since independence. Huge amount of money every year allocated to education. Unfortunately, if you look at the World Bank report or the PISA ranking, actually our students and our product of our education have declined significantly to even countries like Vietnam. So if you look from that perspective as a businessman, you say that this is not working. So the first thing you ask is that, should we change the framework? So if the framework doesn't work, you change it. You cannot try the same framework and expect a different outcome. It's crazy. If you do the same thing, doing the same processes that you have done over the last 40, 50 years. So we need to change it. For instance, in one of my speech, I said that, hey, look, if we don't do something drastic, our education system will not improve. Why don't we disband Kementerian Pelajaran and MQA and replace it with the Malaysian Education Commission, so that it will be led by industry with lots of government input. That will be given a new life to education. And it should be decentralized. Why should after 60 years, why should it be centralized? Like I said, if the center is very strong, then excellence will permeate through the system. But if the center is not strong, mediocrity will be the outcome. So let the more advanced state like Selangor, Johor, or Penang to have their own education that might be more suitable. I mean, you look at Selangor, is a very industrialized and developed state, and compared to a state like Kelantan, two different model of development, same education system. You learn the same thing, same syllabus. Doesn't make sense.
Your suggestion to disband is probably a bit radical, but
we are talking about transformation.
Yeah. But the one on the establishment of Education Commission is something, because I'm trying to be pragmatic in terms of it's probably quite almost impossible to disband the ministry, but having the Education Commission is something that would be, would help change the education system.
If you have two parallel systems in the running, the system will even become more inefficient, and there will be too much redundancy and will be very costly. So my thinking is that let the industry run it with plenty of inputs from the public sector, so that our education system will reflect more what is needed by industry, what is needed in 21st century.
Bagi saya tu, Tan Sri, we have Ministry of Education, and then we have Ministry of Higher Education. Sometimes it's combined and then it's separate. It's been like that for many times. Should we combine? Should we separate? Or should we disband both?
I think we should look at education as a whole.
Yeah.
If you start breaking up, the problem is that they will start fighting with each other. One will say that, hey, you are not doing anything, I'm getting a poor product from you. And they say that we are putting our student in the fine part, but your higher education is not flexible enough to absorb some of these students. So it's better to have one.
Okay.
Better to have one. And I think our education system need a revolution, not transformation, let alone
Radical
piecemeal changes.
transformation.
Yeah, we need.
Yeah.
We have no choice.
Yeah.
If not, we cannot catch up with Singapore. We cannot catch up with South Korea or China for that instance. I mean, the Chinese university now has become one of the best universities in the world. Why? Because they are tough on the students, and they measure their outcomes very well.
Tansi, there's another one before we take another short break. There's a call also that MOHI should combine with MOSTI, Ministry of Science, Technology
If
Innovation.
if we can get education to be under one ministry, I think it's good enough for me.
Okay, now let's take a quick break, and then we continue with the couple more segments before we end.
We don't have that in Malaysia yet, Startup Summit among students. So we can have that bila dah rancak. So kalau tak rancak memang tak boleh buat summit lagi lah. So that's my dream actually. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hai, saya Dr. Hana Yasmin Hafiz, pengarah Ignite Venture Lab UMK. Ignite Venture Lab ditubuhkan pada 2021 untuk menyokong visi dan misi negara, which is sejajar dengan Dasar Kewasan Negara 2030, iaitu menjadikan syarikat pemula pelajar berteraskan inovasi dan digital. Ignite Venture Lab actively involved in building new startup yang berteraskan inovasi dan merancangkan syarikat pemula yang berteraskan inovasi dan beridentitikan khusus program yang dipelajari oleh pelajar-pelajar tersebut. So dengan ini harapan kami Ignite Venture Lab boleh menggerakkan lagi agenda keusahawanan universiti yang berteraskan inovasi dan digital, dan juga kami menyediakan ruang latihan latihan komprehensif serta training yang bersifat program oriented untuk menyokong pelajar-pelajar serta menjadi catalyst untuk pelajar mencuba dalam industri syarikat pemula supaya mereka can monetize their knowledge dalam keusahawanan yang bersifat barulah di sini. Dan juga pencapaian terbesar kami adalah kami telah menangi TCS Sustainathon 2024, which is syarikat pemula pelajar UMK sendiri telah membangunkan aplikasi untuk menggalakkan pelajar mencuburi bidang STEM, dan juga syarikat pemula pelajar daripada Fakulti Sains Data telah menghasilkan satu prototipe produk yang syarikat ini telah menghasilkan satu prototipe produk untuk detect pencemaran air dan telah menangi terlalu banyak awards, antaranya adalah Tech Olympics 2024, dan juga yang terbaru telah terpilih untuk program The Next Big Thing 2024 yang dianjurkan oleh KPT. There's no specific criteria. Usually student ataupun mentor akan datang ke Ignite Venture Lab ni untuk mendapatkan latihan dari segi pitching. So they are preparing for competition. It's a serious competition. Obviously they need some training untuk memastikan menang lah. Jadi mereka akan voluntarily datang dan seek for help lah. So kami ada team of expert yang boleh bantu dari segi bahasa, dari segi confident. So saya rasa any mentors usually they already aware of Ignite Venture Labs punya capacity untuk melatih ataupun coach pitches mereka. Bagi melestarikan any program pun dan motivasi dan mengekalkan motivasi pelajar, memang mentor mainkan peranan. Mentor akan berusaha sedaya upaya dan kita akan usually ask around the mentors, so how are you guys doing, what are you guys what are the difficulties that you're having. So I think checking in the mentors tu lebih penting daripada checking in students, because of students sometimes they are everywhere, sometimes blue tick je baca WhatsApp, right? Tapi mentor they are committed to the program. Usually they can respond as your student ni mengalami masalah apa-apa, so kita akan facilitate how to actually ensure they keep motivated to be in the program and also stay in touch with us. Dari segi program dan pembiayaan memang Cradle Fund banyak membantu kami dari segi memilih syarikat yang betul-betul valid kepada industri. Obviously kita nak student tu bukan syarikat pemula di UMK saja. Out there also they can survive as a startup. So Cradle Fund banyak bagi insights lah which startup yang we should focus on. And then my MDAC also membantu dari segi pembiayaan, banyak pembiayaan digital, dana-dana geran digital sebenarnya dibiayai oleh MDAC, dan juga agensi luar startup yang lain, contohnya Space In, Computing, ada Biotech Affiliate. So mereka semua rakan partner yang banyak membantu dari segi memberi sharing expert dengan semua startup pelajar, dan kami memang banyak melakukan webinar lah bersama all these agencies. So hopefully IVR can be situated at all campuses. So dia bukan limited to physical entity only lah. It can be online, it can be hybrid. Dia ada di setiap campus, and maybe we can do like really world level competition that macam startup summit. We don't have that in Malaysia yet, startup summit among students. So we can have that bila dah rancak. So kalau tak rancak memang tak boleh buat summit lagi lah. So that's my dream actually.
Okay, let's continue with segment 6 to touch a bit on the public trust and integrity. Tan Sri, just one question in this segment, but very important one. Is integrity still valued as highly in public life today as it was when you started your career? What has changed, if it has changed? Because I think in some way, we have normalized certain principles. Instead of being civil servant, being the guardians of the nation, we tend to follow the bosses or politicians blindly. What's your take on it?
I think we are in a more complex situation compared to, say, in the 80s and 90s. I think when I started work in the public sector, I thought that the sense of purpose, working for the country's good, integrity is a given. It was never been questioned. But now, because of things have changed, technology, the media, now everybody is a reporter. Sometimes you do not know which is true, which is not true. Which is fact, which is sensational. So very difficult for you to basically maintain the confidence of the public, especially in terms of integrity, because too many noises. And the thing about noises is that sometimes people do not know which one to choose. And as a result, the perception out there become more negative of the role played by the public sector. I think this is most unfortunate because the public sector is a very important component of the economic structure.
So what advice would you give to young leaders about staying true to their values even when it's inconvenient or unpopular?
I always tell the new recruits into the central bank, I say that, when you are in school, you are full of ideas, full of ideals. Don't lose them. The problem with working is that you tend to give a bit, inch by inch by inch and by inch. By the time you know it, all your principles are gone. I think that is something that we need to constantly reflect, whether our ideals, whether our integrity remain intact. It's not easy, and because of the many changes and challenges, but it's something that can be done. And everybody must know their red line. They must know what are the Rubicon that they shouldn't cross. They should know the red lines that they should never do. That's why one guy told me that during the early days, the very definition of integrity is that would you do something wrong if nobody is watching? I think that's a very fundamental and deep meaning. And if you pass that question, I think your integrity is intact.
It is about saying no, learn to say no in a good way. You know.
Sometimes saying no in a bad way also helps.
Yeah.
But depending on
Yeah.
circumstances.
I agree
and
with
the
you.
courage that you have
It is important to say no. You must
it's
have the courage.
important to say no. You must learn to say no.
Yep. Yeah.
Saying
Thank you.
yes is easy. You don't
Yeah.
need to learn it.
Yeah. Let's go to the final segment on some personal reflection. If you were in your 30s today, Tan Sri, just starting out, what kind of future would you prepare yourself for?
One thing, I should have been a multilingual. I should have, I can speak and write in at least 3 languages.
Yeah.
Malay, English, and one more, Mandarin or Arabic.
Yeah.
I think the future of our country is for our people to take up a third language and be conversant in it, so that they become more useful. They can find jobs in countries beyond our shores, so that they become even more globally employable. I think that is very important. And this country must learn not to be utterly sensitive about learning Mandarin. Note that I never use the word Chinese.
Yeah.
I use the word Mandarin.
Yeah.
I think Mandarin now is the lingua franca of the world. 1.3 billion of people speak Mandarin. We should speak Mandarin as well, because China is our biggest trade.
Should we make it compulsory at school?
In my note, I say it should be compulsory. In fact,
Okay.
I even advocate that make it compulsory for 30% of Chinese school to have Malay population,
Yeah.
so that they can learn. It's no more sensitive. It's no more politically. It shouldn't be politically sensitive. In fact, now, as you know, the technological advancement by the Chinese can rival any of the Western economies. So, and a lot of new research and development are in Mandarin.
Yep.
So, if we are conversant in Mandarin, we can get the first bite when those research come out. We don't have to wait until they are translated into English to learn about the new research and ideas.
Okay, last question, Tan Sri. We are running out of time. What would you say to young Malaysians who feel disillusioned about the economy and governance?
First of all, we have to admit that the cost of living has gone up, wages are stagnant, and jobs are not as easy to obtain like before. But I think that is cyclical. I think the younger generation should not lose hope. If you look at economic history of Malaysia, Malaysia have done wonders. Malaysian economy is very, very flexible. In the 70s, we were a producer of commodity, tin and rubber.
Yep.
In the 80s, we embarked into import substitution. We did well. In the 90s, we embarked into export-oriented industry. And then we move on heavy industries, and now on Industrial 4.0, which is basically on IT and technology. So we can make the changes. Malaysians are basically very flexible. I think this is one hope that the younger generation must always remember. Malaysia can always reinvent itself.
Yeah.
And we have proven it again and again and again. And I don't see this difficulty that we are going through will last. It will change.
Yep.
Because of the flexibility of our general population.
Yeah. Just keep going, keep moving.
Keep believing.
Keep believing, yes. So now the last one on the rapid fire. Are you ready, Tan Sri?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. One book that deeply influenced you.
It's a series of books. I actually look at that particular question. Actually, two very important topic that if you look at my library, a majority of the books are on history and on autobiographies. You know why? Because this is where we learn how actually people change their country. For example, I read a book on Deng Xiaoping. It's unbelievable. Every one of you must read that book. How actually he changed China into the country that it is now. It's just simply amazing. And then you learn about the sanctity of perseverance,
Yeah.
of acquiring new knowledge, of having an open-minded approach, of listening to people. I think all great people that have read the books, they listen to people.
Yeah. It's about empathy.
It's about
listening.
empathy, it's about understanding, it's
Yeah.
about being smart.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with smart people, you become smarter.
Yeah. Tan Sri, a leader that you admire.
Two
One.
names come actually.
Two. Okay.
Unfortunately, two names because it's really unbelievable. One is, like I mentioned just now, Deng Xiaoping.
Okay.
A communist country, upbringing from communism, and suddenly he come up with this so-called socialist capitalist economic model. Never been tried before in the history of humankind. And the unbelievable part is that he managed to bring out 800 million people out of poverty.
Yeah.
It's just simply amazing. Another is nearer to us, Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew.
Singapore used to be very poor, poorer than Malaysia, but his sense of appropriateness, his vision for his country, and his belief in meritocracy and hard work now make Singapore one of the richest country on earth.
Yeah.
So these leaders, if you look at them, they have some commonality between different approach, same character.
Tea or coffee?
Definitely tea, easier to prepare.
I should have asked you this question before the podcast because we are serving you coffee. Okay, one value you live by.
Always, you have to hold dear integrity.
Integrity.
Without integrity, men are useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing
And
you
I noticed that women have better integrity than men.
Yeah. Okay, you can see that those
You know,
who agree with you.
I need to tell a story on this.
Uh,
I used to be part of the committee that looked at microfinancing around the globe, a member of the United Nations. That time was led by the present Queen Maxima. So we went all over the world and looked at how microfinance can change life. And we noticed that 80% of microfinancing around the globe are given to women. You know why?
Because they pay back.
The payback is one. And if you give money to women, the first thing they do, improve the well-being of the children.
Yeah.
You know what men do with the money? They buy cigarette and they gamble.
Again, another one. MPL is very low, like Amanah Ikhtiar Malaysia.
Yes. And 80% of Amanah I think is a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, last one thing you wish you would know earlier
Yeah.
in your career.
I would have learned a lot on the way to communicate. Communication actually is the strongest asset that anybody can have. Because if you can communicate, you can explain complex things in very simple manner. You can actually persuade people to do the things that you want to do. Communication skill. Unfortunately, it's not taught in school. It's not even taught in universities, I think. At least during my time, we are not taught about communication. Not knowing that communication skills are one of the biggest demand of a leader.
Yeah. That's why one of the best book I've ever read is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
You know.
It's a good book.
Yeah, very good book. Okay, Tan Sri, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, for such an enlightening and inspiring conversation.
Thank you.
Your words has given us not only food for thought, but also a powerful reminder on the importance of purpose, courage, and wisdom in leadership. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Yes. And we hope you found today's episode meaningful. So please subscribe, share, and stay with us as we continue to bring the voices of and stories that matter from MGSEB and beyond. So I'm Prof. Azizi, and this has been Voices of MGSEB. Until next time, take care and keep learning.
Thank you.